Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great. Welcome back to another Warframe video. Of course, we are going to be talking about Gauss Prime, aka the Quicksilver of Warframe, and based on that name you can definitely associate speed with this boy. But unfortunately, that is not the case in today's video. We're only going to be focusing on the nuking capabilities that Gauss can definitely provide us with. For the first ability, you can think of it as a signature ability, because when you think of Gauss, you immediately think of speed. The first ability allows you to move at hyperspeed. Activating this ability recharges your battery level. The second ability, known as Kinetic Plating, allows Gauss to convert heat and cold and blast damage into energy. This works very similar to how Rage or Hunter Adrenaline does, except it is exclusive to whichever element gets hit on you, so it only works if it's either heat, cold or blast. It also prevents you from being staggered, and damage reduction is based on battery level. Next up is we have Thermal Sunder, which allows us to either freeze the enemies or burn them to a crisp depending on how your button movement is affected. So holding down the ability inflicts heat damage, tapping inflicts freezes them or cold damage. Finally, we have Redline. Now you guys can pause the video if you want, because we're not going to be using Redline to increase our weapon handling speed, even though the utilities are relatively effective and useful. However, we are going to be using it to enhance Thermal Sunder's nuking capabilities. If you guys didn't know, like I said, with Thermal Sunder you can either hit them with heat first and then hit them with cold, which will then go and freeze them. Now this is where Redline comes into play. If you guys didn't know, at the bottom right you'll see a battery meter, and without activating your fourth ability you can't go past the red line. With the fourth ability active, you'll be able to surpass the red line, hence its name, and then once that has been activated you'll see that you'll be going even higher, and then you'll see like this 0 to 100% bar. Now this 0 to 100% bar actually represents how much damage reduction you'll be having if you've got kinetic plating on, but on top of that, if your percentage, I believe, is around 20 to 40, if you guys have got the correct mod set up, you'll be able to go and armor strip the enemies without reaching 100%. So let's quickly go over the build. So I'm going to start with the Archon shards, and as you guys can tell, we have a variety of Archon shards installed onto our Warframe. So here's the build for Gauss. As you guys can tell, we have unfortunately added one Forma, and for the life of me, I can't exactly remember which polarity we have modified. Now I want you guys to take a look at the stats. As you guys can tell, we have 94% strength, 250% range, 130% efficiency, and 185 duration. If you guys didn't know, this is the similar way in which I go and mod my Sarin. You don't have to worry too much about strength, you'll still be able to go and nuke, but the most important thing is that every nuke has a massive area of effect. Now as for the build, we are going to be rolling around with corrosive projection. The reason why we want to do this is because in order to go and strip the enemy's health, we need to make sure that our red line is at max percentage, but in order to do so, it's going to take a little bit of time. So corrosive projection essentially lowers the wait time. Next up is we have Cunning Drift to increase our range, and I just want to talk to you guys one thing. When it comes to the X slot, you have an option between adding more range, or you guys can add Coaction Drift, which essentially makes everybody's aura, including yourselves, a lot more potent. Therefore you can wait even less when it comes to red line. It's up to you. Do you want to have a bigger area of effect, or do you want to wait less when it comes to nuking the enemies? Because remember, red line, you have to build it to a certain level. By adding corrosive projection and enhancing corrosive projection, the wait time is entirely less. That's entirely up to you guys. It's your build. You mod to your heart's desire. As for the rest of the mods, we are going to be rolling around with continuity to increase our overall duration, because we want to make sure that we have longevity. We are, of course, by achieving 185% duration, you also need to add 3 Archon shots plus continuity, which will still us at 185 duration. Streamline for a much better energy economy, because remember, we're going to be spamming abilities like it's nobody's business just to make sure that our red line is up. So Streamline just makes sure that we have less energy used per cast. Flow for, once again, a much better energy economy. Intensify for a little bit of power strength. Archon Vitality, just so that we can take advantage of double heat effects per proc. If you guys didn't know, Thermal Sunder allows us to essentially just proc the enemies with heat. Vitality just doubles our heat damage, because it is an ability and we are all going to be doubling our heat damage, if not tripling, with this particular not augment, this mod. stretch just to make sure that we have a much bigger area of effect. The same thing can be said with overextended. Don't really worry about ability strength being affected, as it is quite necessary or redundant. You don't really need it. And once again, we want to make sure we've got a decent amount of power strength, so we've just added auger secrets. Now as for the arcanes department, we will be adding some pricey arcanes, and that is going to be Arcane Energize and Arcane Steadfast. Remember, Arcane Energize just allows us to replenish our energy once we pick up an energy orb. Usually an energy orb will be 25%, but if this thing does proc, it's going to be 150 energy, which is so nice when it procs. And then Steadfast is just going to allow us to cast other abilities without the cost of any energy. So essentially it's going to give us free ability cost. But as far as the community is concerned, you want to add corrosive projection just so that you can, you don't have to wait until red line is fully maxed out. With that being said, let me show you how I like to go and play. So as you guys can tell, we're currently in the simulacrum, and let's go and spawn some dummies, get ourselves the energy. Now if you guys take a look at the bottom right, you'll see that we have a battery meter. If we casually start moving, then it will start passively increasing, and you can increase this even further just by activating your abilities. In this case, I am activating Mark Rush. Now once you guys get to the red line, you won't be able to max it out until you activate the ability itself, known as red line. So we're going to quickly do that. Once that has been done, you can see now we've surpassed the red line, and now we have a percentage based meter that is increasing. Now like I said, with corrosive projection, you guys don't really have to wait for it to be fully maxed before engaging the enemies. However, because of demonstration purposes, it just makes life so much easier. So I'm going to show you guys two different instances. So the first one, we want to max out the red line just to show you what it is capable of. As you guys can tell, it's currently at 100%. Then you can start engaging the enemies. So activate your three times, or essentially just make sure they've got 3 heat instances on them. Then tap it to finish them off. As you guys can tell, the blast damage not only armor stripped them, but was able to just finish them off based on their flesh. And that's essentially what you have to do. 3 heat instances, and then hit them with the cold instance, which armor strips them, which fuses into blast, which detonates and kills them. Now in order to go and use the mechanic with less armor, you simply just want to activate your 4th. Right now I'm going to be grouping these enemies up just because it makes life so much easier, because the one thing I hate about this particular feature is it always knocks the enemies back, and it's not something that I'm fully happy with. So essentially just make sure that they don't move anywhere. So we just want to go and max out our not really maxed up, but have a relatively high instance. And when we activate Thermal Sunder, it just decreases everything. But hey, as you guys can tell, we've got 3 instances. Tap them with the 4th, and as you guys can tell, the enemies have been nuked, because once again we don't have to deal with too much armor, and we don't have to worry about red line being at max. I highly recommend you guys go ahead and take a look at the rest of my Warframe videos. There will be some links down in the description, and of course there'll be some suggestions to you guys, the top right, the top left. So I highly recommend you guys go ahead and take a look at. I'm like a banana and split. Remember to leave a like on this video, always helps me out substantially. Spartan, click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. Just like I previously just said, I'm like a banana and split. See you guys in the next Warframe video. I'm out. Peace.